Okay, let's get you more now on the story. Prof Bheki Mngomezulu, Director of CANRAD at Nelson Mandela University, joins us now for a conversation. So, Prof, always great chatting. Thank you so much for your time this hour on the late edition. So, first of all, let's break this down. You know, this happens now under the theme of, defend, rebuild, and advance. Let's get a sense of what you make of that emotional speech by the EFF's CIC, Julius Malema.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masango, for having me, and good evening to your viewers. First of all, one must congratulate the EFF for hosting this particular event, and in particular, congratulate Julius Malema for delivering the longest political speech to ever be delivered by the head of a political party. Speaking for 3 hours, 30 minutes was not a child's play. But in terms of the content of what he was saying, starting from the slogan we have just outlined, I think that the EFF is basically concerned about the way things have happened. If you compare what happened in 2014 and what has happened in the just concluded election on May 29, there is a stark difference between the two. The reality is that the EFF goes to this meeting bleeding. And in fact, it's bleeding from inside because some of the causal factors have nothing to do with exogenous causal factors, which can be attributed to other external factors like the formation of the MK party and other issues. They have to do self-introspection and check what has happened. But the speech, in fact, summarizes the emotions, and it also tries to win back support so that at least people can still believe that the radical EFF that was formed in 2013 is still the same organization, but the reality points to a different direction. It's a different EFF altogether.
And Prof, also just, thinking still with that theme of rebuilding and advancing and defending as well. You just touched rightfully on concerns over what has happened over the past few months within the party, where we've seen what many have called an exodus within the party. Just looking at that now and also taking into stock this particular theme that they're working on, how does this also tie in with one another? What is there to defend and what is there to rebuild?
First of all, the defense part is defending the party. You defend the party which you believe is going to lead the black majority to a better life, because that was the initial idea of forming the EFF in the first instance. They wanted to rescue black people in particular, because those are the people who had been seriously affected by the apartheid regime, even though the Coloureds and Indians were also affected. But there was a tricameral parliament where an attempt was made to bring on board both the Coloureds and the Indians, but blacks were never on the picture. So when the EFF was formed, then that was the idea. So first of all, we want to defend the party, but then secondly, we also want to defend the principles upon which the party was built. And then in terms of protecting, Julius Malema is aware that his party is losing support, and then he wants to do anything and everything to defend whatever is left in the organization. And one way of doing it, of course, will be for them to elect people who are going to assist in that particular mission to rebuild the EFF for the future, because it's clear right now that it is limping. It will go to the local government election in 2026 limping, and in all probability, it will also go to the 2029 general election limping, depending on what is going to happen between now and the two elections I've just referred to. So the protection part is about the party and the people they want to help, and then, of course, making sure that they want to grow the EFF like they've been doing all along until this year when things derailed, and then the EFF found itself on the receiving end.
And Prof, as you make that point, I'm also taken aback back to 2012, following the expulsion of the CIC from the African National Congress back in 2012. That firebrand also, that started the EFF, and fast forward to 2024, where we've seen everything that has happened also in between. I'm also taken aback to a conversation from earlier on with our colleagues where they spoke about leadership within the African context. Let's talk about the CIC's leadership style and how it has possibly gotten the party to where it is today.
My brother, truth be told, Julius Malema made one mistake. He's a leader, he's a good leader, and he can attract as many people as possible. But the problem with him, when he started off, he wanted to mimic former leaders, and more specifically, Peter Mokaba. You could tell even how he dances on the stage. He tries to do what Peter Mokaba did, but there was only one Peter Mokaba, and there will never be another one. So what he needed to do was to be himself, and then project himself to the public and to the members of the EFF, that is the fighters, so that at least they see something or somebody different from Peter Mokaba. So that was his first mistake. And then secondly, it was the radical element of the EFF. I've always said that the EFF is raising very critical issues. At one point, in fact, I had the privilege of talking to some of their members and some of their leaders, at least in their middle level, saying to them, you guys are raising very critical issues. But in some instances, what you say is not as important as how you say it. In particular, I said to them, in KwaZulu-Natal, for example, for as long as you lack respect, you are not going to grow in KwaZulu-Natal. I was talking to them, I was not talking about them. And in fact, those I was talking to were appreciative of that fact. And then I said, number two, as much as your radical stance defines you, but then you also have to read the political rhythm in the country. If you are too radical, you will end up ostracizing a lot of people. So those are some of the things that I think define Malema as a leader and define the EFF as a political party. They've tried to tone it down, but it's too late.
And of course, Prof, this assembly is poised to give, marching orders and set the tone for the next 5 years or so. Let's just hear from you in terms of what you feel should perhaps maybe even be corrected just moving forward.
Simple. The first thing that needs to happen is to check why the party did not perform well. Simplifying everything to say it's because of the MK party is not going to assist the EFF. Yes, of course, the MK party is one of the causal factors, but it's not the only factor. They must first check, has the leadership style that we have used assisted us as an organization? Has the radical stance assisted us as an organization? All those kinds of things. In other words, the point I'm making is that they must first do self-introspection. Once they've done that, only then will they consider other causal factors, which I consider to be exogenous causal factors or external factors in simple English. So basically, those are things that need to happen. Having addressed that issue, they are going to elect the new leadership, and in all probability, Julius Malema will come back, and then unless something else changes, there is a possibility Godrich Gadi could be coming in as well. So they must ask themselves a very critical question. Are the leaders who are bringing in going to take us to where we want to go? Those are the things that need to happen. That's why, for example, when other political parties have meetings of this nature, they start with a policy conference first to agree on the policy positions. Thereafter, they elect people who are going to be implementers of those policies. I think the EFF must also do the same thing. What is it that we want to achieve as a political party? Having answered that question, who are the best candidates to assist us in achieving that goal? Because we can't just put anyone in any position and hope that we are going to perform miracles. It just can't happen.
And Prof, now that you've mentioned that as well, I know before I let you go, I need to find out from you. You've mentioned that there needs to be some sort of introspection that happens just moving forward. Is this a party that now actually has that in them to say, look, we need to go back to the drawing board and introspect? Do you think that's possible with the EFF?
It is possible. Will they do it? I'm not too sure. The reason why I'm saying this is because all the utterances we've been hearing so far have very little to do with the party, but has everything to do with everybody else. And that is the problem. Because whenever you are sick, the first thing we need to do is to admit that you are sick. Then you start seeking assistance from somebody to give you tablets, to give you traditional medicine, whatever it is. Unless the EFF is conceding that there are things we have not done well, there is no way that they will be able to rebuild, as they are saying in their slogan. Rebuilding means that you identify your strengths, you identify your weaknesses, you check where you have derailed, and then you rectify that through policy positions, clear policy positions. It can't be that one or two individuals will be calling the shots everybody must know what the documents say and then implement those documents. It is possible, but I doubt it if they are going to implement it, unless, of course, there is a mindset that will change and say, this is the reality, let's respond to it.
All right, Prof Bheki Mngomezulu is the director of CANRAD at the Nelson Mandela University. Thank you so very much for your time and insights this hour on the program.